Yeah, what up, yo? This is Branch, Dean of Avenue Cool Music with beginning bassist. Now, when changing the strings on your bass guitar, you want to move only one string at a time. Uh, don't remove all four strings of your bass guitar when changing the strings on your bass guitar. Remove one string at a time because if you remove all four strings, what that's going to do is going to alter the adjustment of the truss rod that's embedded within the neck of the bass guitar. Now, a truss rod is a steel rod that's embedded within the neck of your bass guitar. The purpose of that rod is to support the neck because the neck is most often made out of wood. I mean, there's other types of materials that they use in um, constructing the bass guitar neck, but most often it's made out of wood. And what that truss rod does is it supports the neck because if it wasn't there, the tension placed upon the neck of the bass guitar by the steel strings will snap the neck of the bass guitar. So that steel rod is embedded within the neck of the bass guitar to support the neck of the bass guitar. And it's also there for making adjustments to the neck of the bass guitar when you have your bass guitar set up. Okay? Having your bass guitar set up means that um, the truss rod has been adjusted in order to accommodate the string height and the adjustments on the bridge to uh, to enhance the playability of your bass guitar. Some people like to have their strings really low on the neck of the bass guitar, and some don't. But what happens is you want to have the strings at what I'll refer to as a standard height. Because if the strings are too high, it's going to take more effort to press down the string when you're playing, and it's going to slow you down. So you want to have your bass guitar set up, and that can be done by adjusting the truss rod along with the bridge to adjust the height of the strings as well. Now, when I began playing bass guitar, like 20 plus years ago, um, it would cost like $40 to get your bass guitar set up. Nowadays, it can cost $100 or more at most of these music stores to have someone set your bass guitar up. And what setting the bass guitar up, it also includes intonation of the bass guitar, meaning that if you're tuning your bass guitar, you're adjusting the tuning pegs, and you're looking at your tuner and you're playing the E string. And when you see that on the tuner that the E string is tuned in E, then you want to press down the 12th fret on the E string, and you want to check the tuning of that, and that should be a perfect E as well. If that E is sharp or flat, that means that that bass has not been set up properly. It has not been intonated, and it needs to be the same on the A string, the D string, and the G string. They need to be intonated, and that's a part of the process of setting up the bass guitar. If you have to pay someone to set up your bass guitar for you, it's going to include adjusting the truss rod, adjusting the bridge, and the string height as well. Now, as I said, nowadays it can cost $100 or more to have your truss rod or have your bass guitar set up. Now, I know that if you purchase your bass guitar online at places like um, Sweetwater Music or Musician's Friend, they have excellent customer service, and I know that if you call their customer service, they're probably going to call you. That's how good they are. But if you call your customer service before you finalize the purchase and tell them that you want your bass guitar set up before they ship it to you, that way you don't have to purchase a bass guitar and then have to spend $100 or more to have it set up. You want to have them set it up before they ship it to you. Also, don't be afraid to ask for freebies like a bass guitar strap, a gig bag tuner, or even a discount. You'll be surprised at the things that you can get by asking for these freebies because they want to make the sale. If they give you a strap, it's going to be a little cheap strap, but it's better than nothing, and then you don't have to rush out and buy a bass guitar strap immediately. And a gig bag as well. They may give you a cheap gig bag, but at least you'll have something until you can go out and purchase your own gig bag. Another thing to keep in mind that in most cases, if you're not satisfied with the purchase of your bass guitar, you find something that you don't like about it, you usually have 30 to 45 days to return the item. So when you get your bass guitar shipped to you, keep all of the packaging and shipping material for at least 30 to 45 days in case you decide that you want to return that item to them. Now I want to talk about some online bass guitar instructors that I want you to check out. I mean, there's a ton of bass guitar instructors online, some very good ones, you know. But these guys, um, I used to check them out back in the day, in the early YouTube days. And the first guy I'm going to talk about, we used to call him the OG of online bass guitar instructors because he was the guy back. We used to call him the OG. His name is he goes by Marlo DK at Play Bass Now. His real name is Thomas Rizal. Now, like I said, he was one of the first major bass guitar instructors online. So make sure you check Marlo DK out. I haven't checked him out in quite a while. I really don't know what all he's got going on right now, but I know he's still active and he does have beginner lessons available for you on his YouTube channel. Also, Marlo DK was one of the guys, one of the online bass instructors that purchased a copy of my first CD, the Undaunted CD. So make sure you check out Marlo DK at Playbase Now and give him subscribe to his channels. The next guy I like a lot as well at Talking Bass. His first name is Mark. I can't remember his last name. Now Mark is a really good, exceptional bass guitar instructor. And I really want you to check out Mark because Mark has a lot of freebies for you that you can download. I mean, I downloaded this PDF file from him some time ago. It's a scale reference manual. It has like 33 pages in it, man, for free. I don't know what sort of freebies he has now because I haven't checked him out in quite a while. Like I said, Mark has been around. I first discovered him on YouTube in 2014. And Marlo DK was maybe around 2011, 2012. So make sure you check out Mark at Talking Bass as well. Also, Mark is subscribed. He's a member of the Cool Zone here as well. So make sure you subscribe to Mark's channel at Talking Bass. Then there's another guy that started out around the same time that I began on YouTube, Scott's Bass Lessons. Scott's Bass Lessons is believed to be the largest online bass guitar instructor. I remember when Scott at Scott's Bass Lesson, I remember when he started out, he had one package that he was selling with bass guitar instructional methods on it. And now he's gone from that package that he was selling for maybe 40, 50 or 60 pounds. I mean, he's in Great Britain to now becoming the possibly the largest online bass educator online. So make sure you check out Scott at Scott's Bass Lessons as well. And this other guy, I've only been checking him out maybe 2 or 3 years. I mean, I most enjoy his teaching style. It's almost like he's sitting in the room with you with his presentation style. As far as his beginning lessons, his beginning lessons to me they're more advanced beginner, so like in between beginner and intermediate. His name is Rich Brown at the Brownstone. Like I say, I mean, I really enjoy his presentation style. He's very personable the way he approaches teaching. So make sure you check out Rich Brown as well at the Brownstone. Now another thing I want to point out concerning purchasing your bass guitar, bass guitars most often have 3 types of necks. They have a rosewood neck, they have a maple neck, and they have a roasted maple neck. Now, what's the difference between these necks of the bass guitar? The rosewood neck has always been considered to be softer than the maple neck, you know. So, other than that, I don't know of any other major differences. You know, it used to be believed that the maple neck is better for slap bass. You know, I used to believe that at one time, but there's this bassist. I can't remember his name right now. Really popular bassist, Muller. I can't remember his name. His last name is Muller. He plays a bass rosewood neck, and this dude he's a dynamite dude. Check him out, okay? I'll post his images here somewhere, Muller. But yeah, and the roasted maple neck is something that it was unique at the time of its first inception on YouTube. The roasted maple neck is what happens there is that Sire bass guitars were the first to introduce a roasted maple neck that I know of. And what happens there is the bass guitar neck is made out of wood, and the wood contains its moisture. So, like for instance, in the summertime, you may notice that the adjustments of the neck of your bass guitar are different. It's because in the summertime, the moisture within the neck of the bass guitar is more moist. It's more humid, and so that water is it's fluid, so to speak. So the neck of your bass guitar may shrink, and you may have to do some tuning adjustments. Whereas in a cold climate, that water freezes in the neck of the bass guitar, and that neck of the bass guitar may expand. So you may still have to do some tuning adjustments based upon the season, you know. But a roasted maple neck, all of the moisture they have some process that they use where all of the moisture has been removed from the roasted maple neck bass guitar, so you don't have to worry about those seasonal changes that may affect the moisture contained within the neck of the bass guitar, because there is none in a roasted maple neck bass, um, a roasted maple neck for your bass guitar. And I do know that Sire bass guitars do, the majority of their basses have roasted maple necks. Next, I want to talk about the difference between sorry, the difference between a passive bass guitar and an active bass guitar. Now, I purchased the Sire V5 a few years ago, and the Sire V5 is a passive bass guitar, but I upgraded the electronics to an active bass guitar. But this is the passive electronics off of the Sire V5 bass guitar that I purchased some years ago. As you can see, it only has three knobs on a passive bass guitar. This first knob here is these first two knobs are volume control knobs. This knob here controls the volume on the neck pickup, the pickup that's closest to the neck. Excuse me. And this knob right here controls the volume on the pickup that's closest to the bridge. Okay. So all that you have control over is the volume and the on the pickups, and that's a big that's one way of shaping the tonality as well. You can roll back on the volume of the front pickup and have more of a rear pickup, of a bridge pickup tonality, which is used a lot in fusion jazz music, or either you can have more front volume and less rear pickup volume as well. Those are the only shaping of the tone, other than this knob right here. This knob right here is your tone knob. It either gives you more bottom or less bottom. That's all that you have on a passive bass guitar. You have volume control for the neck pickup, volume control for the bridge pickup, and overall tone where you have more bottom or less bottom. This is a passive bass guitar. In order to control in order to control the bass, the mids, and the treble, you have to control that on your bass amplifier. Now, this is the Sire bass guitar. This is the Sire bass guitar that I took that passive amp off, passive electronics off, and I put active electronics on it, and I upgraded it to active electronics. And what you have here is you have 1, 2, 3. You have 3 knobs, but that's actually 6 knobs because these are referred to as double pots. Okay. This knob right here, the top of it is the volume control. It's the overall volume control. The top knob there. On the bottom, you have the knob that controls the neck pickup, the volume. No, it doesn't control the volume. You have an overall volume. This knob, if you want to just play the neck pickup, you turn it towards the neck. If you just want the bridge pickup, you turn it towards the bridge. And then you want both pickups, you set it right there at the detent at the home station. So that's your volume, and that's how you determine which pickups you want to use, or whether you want to use both or one. And right here you have your mids. You have two. This is double pots on the top. You have your high mids, and on the bottom you have your low mids. Okay. That's your mids. And right here you have, on the top you have your treble. On the bottom you have your bass. So on an active bass guitar, you have control over the mids, the treble, and the bass. You also have control over your pickups, but you see what I'm saying? You get more ways to shape your tone right from your bass guitar on an active bass as opposed to a passive bass. This toggle switch right here gives me 3 different settings based upon power settings. I refer to it as power settings. I'm not going to go into detail on it. Another thing is important to point out concerning the active bass guitar is there's a 9-volt battery required in order to power this active bass guitar amplifier, preamp rather. Um, in this case, in this preamp, the 9-volt battery is embedded underneath the plate here. Whereas on some bass guitars, there will be a place on the back, usually on the back of the bass guitar, where you'll find a place where the battery can be stored. And those holes that I'm showing you there, that's something that's unique to the side bass guitars. That's something that's most often found on your high-end bass guitars. And what happens there is you can route your strings through those holes and then route them through the bridge of your bass guitar. And what that's supposed to indicate, what that's supposed to do is give you more resonance and a richer sound when you route the strings through the back of the bass guitar as opposed to just right here where I have them here. That's something that to consider. I mean, I've never routed my strings through the neck, through the body of the bass guitar. I just play. I just go from the bridge. But that's something to consider when choosing. When choosing your bass guitar. I think at this point I'm going to insert a video to show you the difference in the tonalities of the active and passive bass guitars. So just a brief video. As you look at this video, these are all sire basses. You have the V3, which is an active bass, and the V5, which is a passive bass. Then you have another V3, and then you have a V8. So the V5 is the only one that's a passive bass. The other three are active basses. So check out this video. Okay, I hope that that video will help you in terms of making a decision as to whether you want to go with passive or active bass. You can't go wrong with either, in my opinion. Now the exciting part, I want to talk to you about some basses that I think that you should consider when purchasing your first bass guitar. The first one, these are in order of significance, I want to say as well. So the first one I'm going to say is your Glary jazz bass. Glary, the Glary jazz bass. Now the Glary jazz bass has had some mixed reviews on YouTube. One of the big issues is that Glary's basses don't come set up. I don't know how their customer service is, but I do know with Glary that with $200 or less, you can get a bass guitar, amp, and maybe a gig bag as well. I haven't checked it in quite a while. But the problem that you may have with the Glary jazz bass is that it's going to require setup. Glary jazz bass has only been around maybe 5 years or so. So that comes in at number 5. Number 4, I hate putting it at number 4, but it's your Squier jazz bass. Squier jazz basses have been around for quite a while. I think they were a somewhat smaller version or smaller department at Fender Jazz Bass. They're somehow related to Fender Jazz Basses manufacturers. They've been around for quite a while. Back in the early 2000s, they were like considered, not even worth considering. Until nowadays, they are to be considered, Squier Jazz basses. But the models that you want to consider in terms of a Squier Jazz bass, you want to consider the what's known as the classic vibes if you're going to buy a Squier Jazz bass. Coming in at number 3 is Thomann. Thomann basses are somewhat of a newcomer to the scene, but they are highly regarded within the bass community. The Harley Benton model is very, I don't know, I guess I'll call that their flagship model in terms of the jazz bass guitars, because they have other models as well. Now they're out of Europe, but I do think I'm pretty sure that they have a shipment um, company here in America as well. So you want to check out Tone Man. You want to give them a really good look, and their prices are really well as well. You're not going to spend more than $250 on a Tone Man jazz bass. They're Harley Benton. So you guys are very fortunate at the options that you have available to you today. Now, coming in at number two, hey, look, this is a 5-star rating. There's somewhat of a newcomer as well, like within the past year, CNZ Audio. And like, based upon all of the reviews that I've not seen a bad review on CNZ Audio jazz bass guitars, under $300. Um, Once again, with CNZ, you're probably going to have to get somebody to set that up for you. I don't know how their customer service is. If you can contact any of their customer service for any of these companies, let them know that you want your jazz bass guitar set up. But CNZ, I think that my next purchase of a bass guitar is going to be a CNZ audio bass guitar because of the reviews. Many reviews are so highly regarded. Now, coming in at number one, it's going to be the Sire Jazz bass guitars. Now, talking about Sire Jazz bass guitars, you got to talk about Marcus Miller. I've seen Marcus Miller in concert quite a few times. I've communicated with him online quite a few times. Now, Marcus, he played, has been playing Fender jazz basses all of his life. He's one of the top. He's the top bassist. Look, man, Marcus is the top bassist in the world, in my opinion. Okay, I like Marcus Miller, Brian Bromberg, and others, but Marcus Miller and Brian Bromberg are 1 and 2 for me. Now, so Marcus Miller, he said that when he used to tour a lot, and he was talking to the fans after the shows, and they would tell him that they want their son to or daughter to play the bass guitar, but bass guitars are so expensive. They wanted him to play his bass guitar because his bass guitar was so expensive. See, I bought Marcus's 4-string bass guitar and the 5-string bass guitar that you saw in the hard case gig bag. That's a Marcus Miller bass guitar as well. Now, I first purchased my Marcus Miller 4-string bass guitar in 2001. It was $769. Then a year later, it was $869, and then it went up to $1,000 or more. And right now, because Marcus Miller signed a deal with this company called Sire Bass Guitars, Fender no longer makes Marcus Miller 4-string or 5-string jazz bass guitars. So if you're going to buy a Marcus Miller jazz bass guitar, you're going to spend a minimum of $1,500 on the 4-string. Probably more right now because it's a discontinued item. But Marcus, around 2015, about 10 years ago, Sire released the first generation of the Marcus Miller signature bass guitars. That was Generation 1. So they had some problems with Generation 1, Sire Marcus Miller Generation 1. So if you're going to buy a Sire bass guitar, make sure it's a Generation 2, a second generation, because the problems that they had with the first generation, have been sorted out. So if you're going to buy a Sire Marcus Miller bass guitar, make sure it's a Generation 2. Like I say, so the jazz bass guitars that you want to consider are the ones that you just saw in the video clip. The V3, the V5, the V7, and they now have a V8. I think that's their newest jazz bass guitar model. I played the V3, and the V3 in my hands, it just didn't feel, as quality as the V5 or the V7. It didn't have the same feel or quality. It's still a good deal for a beginner, but because I've been playing bass guitar so long, I don't look for it. I just have a certain feel for bass guitars, especially jazz bass guitars. And so that's how I ended up with the V5, the V3, the V5, and the V7. The V3 and the V7 are active bass guitars. They have the active preamp, where the V5, as I just showed you, it has a passive electronics on it, but I upgraded it to an active electronics. So yeah, Sire, I have Sire listed as number one. And if you're going to buy one, probably the first place you want to check is Sweetwater Music, because Sweetwater Music Online is the place that basically the home station for Sire bass guitars here in America, because those bass guitars, I believe they're made in Indonesia. So yeah, hey, that's going to conclude session 3 of the beginning basis here in the Cool Zone at Avenue Cool Music. I'm going to be doing some other series sessions later on, but I just wanted to do the first 3 sessions as some guys asked me about how to get started playing bass guitar. But I'm going to do some other sessions coming up later on in the year. So I'm going to close out this session 3 with Marcus Miller playing the V7. I played the V7. I should have purchased it because they, you know. Anyway, check out Marcus Miller playing the Sire V7 active bass guitar as we play out session 3. Once again, thanks so much for being a member here at the Cool Zone Avenue Cool Music. Until next time, peace.